And I say this now with Ben Simmons. Hey, LeBron, we're good, bro. And I am more interested in watching Ben Simmons tomorrow night than I am watching LeBron tonight.
This is practically seen as a meme now, but there was a point where it was undeniable that Ben Simmons would be a bare minimum perennial all-star, all-NBA player, and some people even chose him over Joel Embiid in terms of who the 76ers should build around. With his rare combination of size, athleticism, and court vision, he was even the consensus pick and can't miss prospect in a class featuring both Jaylen Brown and Brandon Ingram. But in 2025, reality has set in on him as a player. Whether it be his fault or external factors, Ben never lived up to his full potential, and he's already being lumped into the what-if category when it comes to NBA players. So what actually got us to this point? How did Ben Simmons go from an all-star to an afterthought in Brooklyn? And is his recent buyout and LA Clipper debut enough to spring forth hope for his NBA future? Well, to get further insight on Ben Simmons, we need to go to the beginning. Benjamin David Simmons was born in Melbourne, Australia to Julie and Dave Simmons in 1996. One key thing to note here is that Ben's father was a baller at Oklahoma City University and went on to play professional basketball in Colombia, Costa Rica, and Venezuela before moving to Australia to play for the NBL's Melbourne Tigers, where he met Julie. Because of his father's profession, Ben, at just a few months old, was traveling from gym to gym and arena to arena, and at just over a year old, he was dribbling a ball with a pacifier in his mouth. Fast forward to age 5, the game of basketball came so easy for him that he was competing in camps against 12-year-olds and made an under 12 club at age 7. Since Ben developed guard skills from a younger age, he had great ball handling and good vision. Then, he started to maximize his output through his new immense size of 6'8" at just age 15. Next, America was calling. Ben got invited to the Pangos All-American camp and completely stood out. According to camp director Dinos Trigonis, it was a breakout event for him. He was a big, very versatile forward that can play inside and outside, didn't force the issue and let the game come to him. He was a very skilled player, very polished, with a terrific all-around game. After that camp, Ben was highly sought after by top American prep schools in the States, and a move across the Pacific seemed imminent, ultimately picking Montverde Academy. Before we continue, be sure to leave a like on the video as each like is a massive support for the channel, and also sub for more content like this. At Montverde, he and future lottery pick and all-star D'Angelo Russell would make a statement. The team went 28-0 and won their second consecutive national title after beating Oak Hill in the finals. In the 2015 season, Ben Simmons was sensational, putting up 28 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 2.6 steals, and 1.5 blocks a game, while leading Montverde to a 31-1 record and helped lead them to another national championship after rallying the team back against Oak Hill. Because of how unstoppable he was on the fast break in his 6'9" frame, his unparalleled playmaking regardless of size or position, his ability to defend 1 through 5, and his ability to elevate his team, Ben was the #1 rated player in ESPN's Top 100 ahead of Scala Bissiere, Brandon Ingram, Jaylen Brown, and Jalen Brunson, and was rightfully sought after as a recruit. So, when Duke, Kansas, etc. recruit you for basketball, programs that have proven track records of developing and producing NBA talent, the obvious choice is to choose LSU. Yeah. Ben said himself that his choice of LSU would shock people, and it completely did. And many people to this day feel that he was paid under the table pre-NIL. However, Ben claimed that he felt most comfortable there, and it only helped that his godfather was one of the coaches on the LSU staff. With that, he was an LSU Tiger in a year that was filled with controversies, and that ultimately foreshadowed issues that linger with him to this day. His on-the-court product was outstanding, with him being a freight train, a mismatch nightmare, a beast of an interior scorer when he wanted to, and being one of the best passers we've seen at the collegiate level in a very long time. The one game he put it all together was when he essentially became the solidified top prospect in his class and the best player in college basketball. 43 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists, 5 steals, and 3 blocks looked pretty good on the stat sheet, but most importantly, the Tigers won the game. He began to receive praise from many people across social media, but none of those shouts were more impactful than 2 players he drew comparisons to. Magic Johnson himself said that Ben Simmons was the best prospect since LeBron James. And the King himself claimed that Ben Simmons has all the tools and was a great young talent. Even people who didn't see Ben in those combos still projected him to be in the mold of a Lamar Odom, a Swiss Army knife capable of playing and guarding 1 through 5, had ball handling that rivaled guards, was a future 6-man of the year, and proved invaluable in the Lakers repeat in 2009 and 2010. Ben was the can't-miss prospect in this draft class, and his only major flaw on the court was his lack of a consistent outside shot, which is something he would definitely improve upon with time. However, everything seemed to be crashing down for Ben. The LSU Tigers were losing game after game and were in danger of missing the NCAA tournament. Follow that up with another terrible 3-game stretch, and LSU were essentially out. A 4-point 3-turnover performance against Texas A&M at the half, a benching to start the game against Tennessee due to academic issues, a boatload of turnovers, and lackadaisical effort on defense start to drive home the narrative that there were concerns about Ben Simmons' character and that he was closed-minded to instruction. The thing is, Simmons' lack of effort on the team or on campus isn't even just speculatory based off of what happened that season. Ben himself came out and said that he didn't really care on campus and was just going through the motions at LSU because he was obligated to be at college due to the one and done rule and would have preferred just going straight to the NBA out of high school. LSU missing the NCAA tournament was a big deal, given that the biggest name in college basketball wasn't playing on the biggest stage. But heading into the NBA draft, Ben's physical gifts and potential were too much for the process 76ers to pass on as they selected him number 1 overall. The 76ers to this point were going through years of rebuilding where they notoriously tanked for years on end to increase their odds of getting the best pick possible. In the 2014 NBA draft, they drafted talented big man Joel Embiid out of Kansas, but he couldn't play his first 2 seasons in the league due to injury. Now, with Ben joining him for the 2017 season, the Sixers were about to go from laughingstock of the league to the next great young team. Off the jump, Ben was living up to the billing as the next transcendent NBA player. The perfectly timed bounce passes in transition, touch passes, ability to fit the ball into tight windows, no lookers, his ability to run the floor, and ability to blow by defenders and create for others in a 6'10 frame really sold everyone on Ben Simmons. Not only that, he was attempting jumpers that he wasn't necessarily comfortable taking a grand total of 51 3-pointers across a shorter 3-point line in high school and none at LSU. However, tragedy struck as Ben Simmons would have to miss his debut season due to a fracture in his right foot. Being sidelined during his rookie season, Ben would have the advantage of familiarizing himself with the organization, the NBA game, and facilities to execute in 2018. And execute he did, posting strong averages of 16, 8, and 8 in his road to winning Rookie of the Year. Sorry, Donovan Mitchell. Ben was 4th in the league in points in the paint per game, was top 10 in assist percentage, led all rookies in rebounds, assists, and steals, posted up 38 double-doubles and 12 triple-doubles, was the first rookie ever to drop at least 1,200 points, 600 assists, 600 rebounds, 50 steals, and 50 blocks in a season at the time. Mind you, he was doing this as a full-time 6'10 point guard, which we haven't seen the likes of since 6'9 Magic Johnson. The highlight of Ben Simmons' rookie season was his duel with no other than LeBron James, where he dropped 27 points, 15 rebounds, 13 assists, and 4 steals to clinch the Sixers' 13th straight win, with majority of that coming without Joel Embiid. The Sixers were miraculously the 3rd seed in the East in just year 1 of the JoJo and Ben experiment, snapping their 5-year playoff drought. And with Joel Embiid playing double the games he did in his rookie campaign and proving to be one of the best bigs in the league already, the future was very bright in Philly. After a second-round exit to the Boston Celtics, JoJo and Ben got even better. In 2019, Ben became an all-star and was one of the best defenders at his position, and Joel Embiid averaged 28 points and 14 rebounds, made All-NBA, and was 4th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Moreover, with the Sixers knowing how special their young duo was, they made massive swings at the trade deadline, trading for both Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris, 2 moves that made them one of the most talented teams on the East on paper, but put Ben Simmons in a very awkward spot in terms of team fit. People already question the fit between Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons due to Simmons not taking jump shots at all and Embiid still developing into a competent shooter. Now you're inserting players in Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris who reduce Ben's time with the ball and consequently reduce his overall effectiveness. There was no better example of this than a nationally televised game against the LA Lakers, where the Lakers left him open like he had the cheese touch, making the paints rather congested and completely shrinking the floor for the Sixers if he wanted to dive into the paint or operate closer to the basket, since they don't have to respect his 3-point shot. Again, on paper, the Sixers lining up with Ben Simmons, JJ Redick, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid was definitely a team to be feared in the Eastern Conference. But, as you all know, the Sixers lost in a heart-wrenching loss to the eventual champion Toronto Raptors, and this is where recurring narratives would start about Ben Simmons. Ben wasn't aggressive at all in this series, taking only 9 shots per game and shooting just 56% from the free throw line. And in Game 7, he took just 5 shots and had just as many turnovers. This is when the need for Ben's jumper to improve really started becoming a point of conversation and emphasis, with Coach Brett Brown suggesting that he would bench Ben Simmons in the 2020 season if he didn't at least attempt a 3-pointer each game. In 2020, Ben was All-NBA, All-Defense, and All-Star, and made his first 3-pointer of his NBA career.
They want him to shoot it.
Average 3-point shooter. There's Simmons. Yes! He did it!
Based off how the crowd reacted, you would have thought that he hit a dagger 3 in an NBA playoff game. But this event was to be celebrated given all the build-up to this moment. But he attempted just 7 threes for the totality of that season, and Coach Brown never followed up on his promise to bench him for not taking threes. On top of that, the Sixers had a very underwhelming season based off their expectations, having misfits in a newly signed Al Horford and getting Josh Richardson in a sign and trade for the newly departed Jimmy Butler. And if you thought it couldn't get any worse, Ben Simmons would miss the 2020 playoffs due to injury. And to no one's surprise, the Sixers would fall out to the Boston Celtics yet again in the playoffs, but this time it would be in a sweep in the first round. We're now entering year 3 of the JoJo and Ben experiment, and people are already calling for one or the other to get traded due to their clunky fit. Ben's inability to shoot meant that you couldn't even run a competent pick and roll between the two of them, since guards are always going to go under the screen each time, and Ben's offensive game was rather limited due to his lack of an outside shot and his unwillingness to even take an outside jumper to keep the defense honest. People even began to side with Ben Simmons in terms of who the 76ers should keep, given the direction the league was headed in and Embiid's inability to stay healthy. We even got to see offseason videos of Ben Simmons shooting threes that gave us hope that he could come into the 2021 season with a more well-rounded offensive game. However, the front office made moves around the edges rather than trading their star duo and helped the team probably have its best shot at competing with this duo. They had better fitting pieces, for example, trading Al Horford and deals to land Danny Green, and Ben was now a runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year due to his ability to guard 1 through 5, and he even established himself as a top 5 point guard in the league. Embiid was still an elite big man and undoubtedly top 2 in the game at this point in terms of centers, and the Sixers were the number 1 seed for the first time in the Simmons-Joel Embiid era. this was their moment to finally win a title. But as with years prior, the Sixers imploded. They failed to beat the Atlanta Hawks in the second round, where they were heavily favored because Ben Simmons wasn't aggressive and was historically bad from the line. Embiid also went scoreless in the second half of Game 4. The Sixers blew an 18-point lead and 26-point lead in back-to-back games, and the series was essentially over. The moment that will forever be remembered in this series is Ben Simmons passing up an essentially uncontested finish in the paint over a 5'11" Trae Young. Spooky. To this day, this still is one of the signature moments of Ben Simmons' career. Doc and Joel Embiid would make condescending remarks about Simmons' play after Game 7, with Doc indirectly saying that Ben can't be the starting point guard for a title team, and Embiid suggesting that the momentum of the game shifted after a certain pass was made. The Sixers fans also started to get tired of Ben as well, because for a player that was pretty much perfect at everything else outside of three-point shooting, why wasn't he gradually improving his jumper since he entered the league? Mentally, it's very hard to recover from this from any player, let alone Ben Simmons, and it's safe to say that he didn't take this very well. What resulted from this was an unprecedented holdout from Ben Simmons. He wasn't in contact with the organization throughout the offseason, was getting fined for not reporting to camp, and came back in an infamous appearance in practice and didn't play a single second of NBA basketball until the trade deadline because Daryl Morey was adamant on receiving an all-star in exchange for him via trade. Fortunately for the Sixers, a disgruntled James Harden went out of Brooklyn, and both teams were getting exactly what they needed. The Sixers got a superstar James Harden who could stretch the floor and was more of a dynamic offensive threat, and the Nets, who already had offensive threats in Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, got depth pieces and a player who could be transformative on defense and impactful offensively. Everyone wanted to see what Ben could do in Brooklyn with more of a Draymond Green role beside Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, but we waited into the playoffs to see if Ben would give it a go before he was held out due to injury. It was finally reported that Ben was targeting to suit up for either Game 3 or 4 against the first round series Boston Celtics, but a back injury would hold him out for the remainder of the playoffs, and the Nets would get swept. At this point, people were calling into question Ben's character, not knowing the full extent of his injury and wondering why he was in consideration of playing when he eventually didn't. That offseason, Ben would have back surgery and consequently never looked like the player who was once compared to Magic Johnson and LeBron James. He was still one of the best passers in the league upon his return, but he became less aggressive, was missing more time due to injury, and was on a lottery-bound Nets team after the team traded both Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Now, in 2025, Ben has been released by the Brooklyn Nets and has thus signed a deal with the LA Clippers for the remainder of the season. In his Clippers debut, Ben really looked like a revival version of himself, looking explosive and stuffing the stat sheet like he once did. Back injuries are pretty tricky and they obviously compromise your mobility, so I don't think that Ben Simmons will return exactly to the player that he once projected to be, which was a perennial all-star and all-NBA player, but he can definitely be a major contributor for the Clippers and in his future for any team in the NBA. With that being said, let me know your thoughts on Ben Simmons. What are your thoughts on Ben after his rookie season, and what did you project him to be in 2025? Also, what do you believe went wrong for him outside of just not working on his outside jumper? Additionally, what are your projections for him in his Clipper tenure and his future in the NBA? Can he still be a major contributor to a contender? Let me know in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on the video as each like makes a massive difference to the channel, and sub to the channel for more content like this. Hope to see you all in the next one. Check out the latest videos uploaded on the channel, and stay tuned.